All right, welcome everybody to Workshops for Good. I'm going to turn things over to today's workshop host, Dawn Wilson. Dawn, take it away.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be speaking about the many things involved when you are getting ready to downsize, or as we like to say, right size for this time in your life and for the things you want to do and how you want to live. The information will also be helpful if you are helping your parents through a transition now and they are looking for a new home. Our program today is going to benefit a local nonprofit called Rebuilding Together of Arlington, Fairfax, and Falls Church. The executive director, Patty Klein, will share a little information about the organization. Patty?
I'm going to unmute and I'm going to share my screen, but thank you so much, Dawn. Give me 2 seconds. And here we go. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you everybody for the opportunity to share with you the important work of Rebuilding Together, Arlington Fairfax Falls Church, and thank you all for your generosity. Rebuilding Together provides critical home repairs and modifications at no cost for low-income homeowners, particularly those who are seniors, persons with disabilities, and families with children. We also work with other nonprofits that provide housing for vulnerable populations. We're able to do this by mobilizing community volunteers and contractors to complete repairs to make homes safer and healthier and to help seniors safely age in place. We are one of 120 nonprofits in the Rebuilding Together affiliate network. Each one of us concentrates on a specific geographic location, so we focus on, of course, Arlington, Fairfax, and Falls Church. In a typical year, we mobilize 1,000 community members to volunteer their time and talents and hire contractors to make repairs and modifications to over 100 low-income households. Some of the volunteers come to us through faith groups, small businesses, corporations, and they sponsor a single home for something called National Rebuilding Day. It used to be called Christmas in April. Others volunteer as individuals throughout the year. So housing is a social determinant of one's health and well-being. So what we do is we go into homes, we assess them systematically to identify hazards in the home, and we develop a detailed scope of work. Repairs and modifications that we complete are dependent on financial resources that we have and volunteer labor that's available. So we focus on several areas. One of them is preventing falls, so aging in place. So we install grab bars, stair rails, comfort height toilets, and brighter lighting. Many people with disabilities and seniors with mobility issues have difficulty moving about safely in the homes and having the freedom and the ability to leave their home. So we improve accessibility by building ramps and installing stair lifts. Fire safety is another thing we focus on. Energy upgrades, and a lot of basic repairs to make sure the home is protected. A safe and healthy home is more essential than ever during the pandemic. So what we're doing is we have small teams of volunteers that are focusing on repairs and modifications that really are addressing the needs of people that are severely impacted by the pandemic. So a lot of people that are seniors and people with low incomes and people with disabilities. A big emphasis, and this is the ramp Dawn was talking about earlier, is on making aging in place and accessibility modifications. So I just wanted to thank you guys again. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Fraser, for the invite today and for thinking of our organization. And if you want to learn more about us, if you know somebody who needs help, you want to get involved, here's our contact information, and it will also be up on the website that Fraser provided. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Patty, for telling us more about Rebuilding Together and the great work that you do in the area. I'm proud to be on the board of Rebuilding Together, and it's a great organization. My name is Dawn Wilson, and I am a local realtor for TTR Sotheby's International Realty. I have over 15 years experience in real estate in this area, and prior to that, I practiced law. I have a special designation as a seniors real estate specialist, and I specialize in helping people transition from their long-time larger home to the next step in their lives when they're ready for a more turnkey way of life. Typically, my clients are ready to spend more time pursuing their passions and hobbies instead of taking care of a large home and yard. I have worked with many people in this situation, and it takes a lot of resources and specialists to make the transition smooth. I have relationships with many professionals who help in the process, and I've invited some of them to speak here today. Although many of my clients are transitioning from a large house to just one level easier living, whether it is here locally or in another state or in another country, I also have clients who need additional care and are looking for specific senior living options, including assisted living and memory care. In those cases, Robin Edwards of Care Patrol has been invaluable to help them find the right home. Her services are free of charge, and she will be speaking later more in detail about how she can help. Typically, before my part in the process of selling the home happens, an elder law lawyer or trust and estates lawyer is consulted. Ed Zetlin is here to speak about what he does and how he helps. Ed?
Thank you, Dawn. So as Dawn said, my name is Ed Zetlin. I am an attorney. I'm with the firm Baskin, Jackson, and Lasso in Falls Church. And I have been practicing in the area of elder law and estate planning for about 30 years. And I'm doing the same thing. I used to have a solo practice, and now I'm with Baskin and Jackson. And what I like to help people, clients understand is, first of all, they need to understand the whole continuum of care. That is moving from independent living to assisted living to nursing home. And throughout that is the whole aspect of perhaps getting community or home care. So I need to know and explain to people all of that and how people move from stage to stage and how they pay for it. So in discussing that, there are two areas that I like to focus on. One is the substitute decision making. That is, do they have the needed documents such as financial powers of attorneys and medical powers of attorneys that would allow someone else to step in should they be incapacitated? And that becomes very important if something happens with regard to selling your house for Dawn or for making investments with Rocco. You need to have in place someone else who could step in if and only if you become so incapacitated that those decisions can't be made. And so that's one area. The other area is I have to look at how we're going to pay for long-term care. Is this someone that may need Medicaid down the line? What pays for long-term care in nursing home and assisted living? And what won't? What public benefits won't pay for long-term care? And I also will look at the contracts for assisted living and nursing homes. So that gives you kind of in a nutshell the areas that I look at with regard to my planning in transitioning for people moving from independent living to some form of assisted or community-based care. So Dawn, I'm turning it over back to you.
So I just want to add here, one thing that Ed's been helpful with my clients is putting together powers of attorney for them. So when it comes time to sell, that might be something that they need. Ed, do you want to just briefly talk about what you do when you prepare a power of attorney for a home sale and what people need to think about who to give that power to and why they might need that?
Well, okay, so people can do general financial powers of attorneys, which will include real estate provisions in there. So you have to think about who do you appoint as your agent? Who do you trust? And this is not overseen by the court. This is a private contract by the individual giving authority to another person to act when they should become incapacitated. So you've got to really think about naming someone who you trust. On occasion, we may have to do specific real estate powers of attorneys. And so I'll actually go in there and put a description of the property. And that's going to be needed so that if the agent is going to represent the principal, you're the maker of the document. At the closing, the agent has full authority to act for you. So whether that's in your general power of attorney, or if on some occasions we have to do special powers of attorneys, there has to be authority for the real estate, for the agent to deal with the real estate, close the property, and get the money into your account. And they have a fiduciary duty to represent you, not themselves, but you. That's the whole idea between a financial power of attorney.
Thanks, Ed. And just a couple of examples that have been helpful to my clients. I have had clients overseas during the closings, and they really wanted somebody here to represent them. And so the power of attorney was needed. I've also had clients who, during the process, about a week before closing, ended up in the hospital and was not able to participate in the closing. And so the fact that she had put this power of attorney in place before we started the sale process was the only reason that that was still able to go through.
Right.
So
people
thank
of
you,
all
Ed.
ages, right? People of all ages actually have to have powers because you don't know what's going to happen.
That's right. So I always am the person there saying, okay, we have an A plan, we need a B plan, we need a C plan, to make sure that everything goes smoothly from start to finish. So from the beginning of the process to prepping for sale to actually getting to the closing, which is why we need all of these different professionals, because we think through all of the different scenarios. And I've been doing this long enough. Well, I was going to say I've been doing this long enough that I've seen it all, but you know what? That's not true. You never see it all. There's always something new that I learn every day. So one thing that's been helpful to my clients is exactly what Rocco said, that their financial advisor is advising them on how are they going to make all of their money last for the rest of their lives. And they look at what they want their life to look like. So I've had many clients who have interests and goals and things that they want to do, and they don't want to deplete all of their assets. And so they're looking for lower cost of living in other areas. And so they've moved away from this area and they moved to some other states. I've had clients move to Idaho, Delaware, Georgia, Texas. So places where they could live less expensively, but yet and then use that extra money to do the things they want to do. So by selling their homes here, they were able to buy their homes there in cash and then have money left over for their travel and the other things that they want to do so that they could keep their investments and their assets and not deplete those throughout their retirement. So thank you, Rocco, for giving such good advice. Next involved in the downsizing process is the lender, who is consulted about the options for how the next home purchase can be made. Chris Clark is a wonderful local lender with Intercoastal Mortgage, and Chris will talk about what he does and how he helps. Chris?
Thanks, Don. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm with Intercoastal Mortgage, and kind of following up a little bit on what Rocco was saying. It is important to make sure that you do consult with your trusted advisors on a transaction when you're doing this. There's a lot of tax implication, capital gains. Selling a home could present a tax event that could cost you money. So it's better to set everything up on the front end to avoid having to do this, so you can maximize the amount of money in your pocket and minimize the expense in doing it. One of the ways that we assist people in downsizing or right-sizing their home is through bridge financing. Bridge financing is a temporary financing that we could place on your current home when you look to buy, say, a condo or a smaller home. And what that really allows you to do is take the equity from your current house and transfer it to the new house. I had a client that was looking to do this transaction similar to this, and they were going to take approximately $600,000 out of retirement and just go buy the new house when they had all this equity in their current home. Well, any CPA or financial advisor could tell you taking that amount of money out of your retirement account and what it would trigger on the taxes and everything would be a huge event, when we were able to save them from having to do that and utilize a bridge loan on their current home to get them the proceeds to purchase the home in cash, avoiding all the taxes that they would have had to pay on taking out of their retirement account. So I cannot stress enough how vital it is to get your ducks in a row and lean on your advisors, your trusted advisors on the front end, because once you go through this, it's hard to clean up that mess after it's already been completed. So definitely lean on us for any questions that you may have. Dawn?
Thanks, Chris. And I've had more than one client in this situation where they're retiring and they're looking to buy their next home and do their downsize, that in their head, they had a thought about what they should be doing and how they should be doing it and where the money was going to come from. But, once I consulted with them and said, we really need to talk to your financial advisor and let's talk to some loan people, it really made sense for them to do it in a different way. So I think that, getting some different opinions and thinking about it can really help and help them come out financially better than they might have otherwise, with just off the cuff thinking this is what I'm going to do, or I'm going to sell my retirement stuff and just buy in cash. So thank you again for all of your good advice that you've given to my clients over the years. So next, we're going to have Robin Edwards with Care Patrol speak about how she helps clients and their families find the right new home for someone when special care is needed. I can't emphasize enough how complicated this is. There are so many different types of homes and different types of issues that people have, that trying to match up the person with the right facility and a good facility that's really going to make a difference. You need a professional. You need somebody who knows them all, knows what they do, knows what the level of care is, and can really help you. It will make your life so much easier. And I've had clients both locally who need this help, and then I've had clients who have been trying to bring their parents here from another area and then need to figure it out here. And then I've also had clients who were living here and were going to go to another state to look for assisted living or memory care in that state to be closer to their relatives. And so Robin can help out no matter what, because even though she's local, she has a network of people who can help in other areas. So Robin, tell us more about what you do.
All right. Thank you so much, Dawn. As Dawn said, I'm a senior care consultant with Care Patrol. It's part of a franchise network. We have offices throughout the United States. What we do is help families put together that puzzle of complexities when they're looking for senior housing. The challenge most families face is that they often wait before they, kind of explore what options are available to them. So it's often in a crisis when they decide to make a move. So where I come is I help them navigate those options. We do that. First, we've pre-screened all the communities in our region for care and safety. So our purpose, our mission is to make sure we only are recommending the safest care options, number one. And also we work very hard to find options that are affordable for families, that meet financial requirements, their geographical requirements, and also, their lifestyle requirements, to make sure it's a place where they can not only get the care they receive, but where they can also thrive. I'm going to talk just briefly about the types of options that are available, because a lot of times what happens, people will call me up, adult children will call me up and say, I need a nursing home for my mom. And more often than not, it's the last thing mom needs. So I'm going to talk to you about what the options are. I'm going to start with talking about, home care. First of all, a lot of people will choose home care. The price of home care, because of COVID, is really spiking up. Sometimes you can find it on the low end at $25 an hour, now up to $40 an hour for a caregiver. And because of the pandemic and the demand for home care, for caregivers in the home, They will not allow you to do short shifts of 4 hours. Most of them require you to do these longer hours. So it ends up being a very expensive option for families. There's independent living, which is what it implies. There's different types of independent living communities in this area. Some provide meals, some provide a little bit of oversight. There's others where you're, just as the name implies, living very independently. Then there's assisted living, and you're familiar with the Sunrises, which dominate the market, those large big box communities. But there's also an emergence of small care homes for people that may need a smaller caregiver to resident ratio. There's a lot more of those available here. There's a lot more new communities opening, all different types. So it gets complicated. If you think a random list off the internet's going to do the trick, it's definitely not. And that same applies to nursing homes. There's acute and subacute. There's some that do certain things, others that don't. So finding out which ones are most appropriate requires somebody to help guide you through that process. And then there are the continuing care communities or life plan communities where, they will require a huge, significant buy-in. Most of them do, but there's some that operate on a month-to-month basis. It's just knowing where to find them. Again, a search on the internet is not going to offer that for you. And then there's memory care. And I just want to briefly talk about that because it's not, with memory care, definitely it's not one size fits all. There's some that will accept certain behaviors, others that don't. There's some that offer 2 levels of memory care so that maybe if someone doesn't need to be in a secured memory unit, it's like a transition into that kind of, more advanced care. So knowing where to go, how to navigate those options, that's what I focus on. And again, I can help you here, or if you need in Northern Virginia, which tends to be pretty expensive, or we can look outside of this area because of our network of senior care consultants. Sometimes people will want to relocate, and I can coordinate that transition to maybe a lower cost state like North Carolina or, maybe Maryland, where you may find more affordable options. And lastly, as Don mentioned, yes, our services are free. And the services that we provide is not only do we give you the options, we guide you through the whole process. So if there's a senior elder orphan that may need a little bit more hand holding, I work with them from beginning to end. And I even follow up with them after they move in to make sure that, we check to make sure that it was an appropriate choice and document those things. And as Don said, yes, our services are free. We're compensated by the thousands of providers in our network. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. I read an article recently about those small care homes that you talked about that said that they're really doing well during COVID, that they're seeing a lot less problems and infection rates in those small care homes. And I was wondering if that's something that you've noticed as well.
Most definitely. I would say I've seen larger cases of outbreaks have been in the larger facilities. It's just because they have so many more people coming in and out of them. The small care homes have been pretty good at, keeping the virus at bay. Very few instances where you've seen huge outbreaks in any of those.
So I had a client whose mom had been living in Northern Virginia here in a condo, like she had already gone through the downsizing process, but then she got dementia. And so then they needed me to sell the condo. She moved in with the daughter temporarily, and that went on for a little bit, but she kept getting worse and worse to the point where she could no longer stay at home. There was just too much care needed. And so she ended up moving into one of those small care homes in Falls Church. And my client was thrilled. Her mother got excellent care, and she was just very happy with the way that all worked out. So I'm glad there's so many different options and you're able to help guide people through that. I know it gets complicated. And Ed, I know that when it comes time to sign those contracts, right? Because when you're moving into some of these senior home facilities, they often have contracts as to what it is you're buying and what's going on. That's something that you review, right? You're on mute. Unmute yourself.
Okay, that better?
That's better.
All right, so you want to, I look at the assisted living contract so people understand, um, number one, their rights, what happens with regard to discharge. If they don't like it, what are their rights to move out? Can the facility discharge them? What legal rights they have with respect to that? And I do the same with regard to nursing home contracts. I also, if the agent is going to be, the oftentimes it's the son or daughter that's going to be signing the contract on behalf of their parent, I've got to make sure that they only sign as the agent, because if they don't, they might in fact find themselves as a personal guarantor for the cost of care. So I've got to make sure that they understand, how to sign it so that that problem never occurs, and it does occur at times.
Thank you so much, Ed. I know that one issue I've seen with my clients who had gone on before I got involved to buy a place in a senior facility, and they hadn't realized, I think, how expensive all of the monthly fees were going to be. And they ended up paying these large, expensive monthly fees for things that they really didn't need at that time in their life. So I think finding the right place for the care you need and what you're looking for, and realizing what you're on the hook for, as far as, it seemed cheap to buy it first. And the actual condo was cheap, but then the monthly fees were just becoming oppressive. So it's important to look at it from all different angles.
That's right.
Fantastic. Now we're going to have Heather Kokoza of Kokoza Organizing and Design speak about the downsizing process. Heather?
Yeah, thanks, Don. Appreciate it. So hi, I'm Heather Kokoza, president of Kokoza Organizing and Design, and we support families and seniors in organizing, downsizing, and move management. So today I'm going to focus on really describing the downsizing process. You can look at downsizing your personal possessions as a very large decluttering project or a very large sorting project. So if you think about all of your furniture and your possessions, when you're looking at downsizing, you could actually group all of this furniture into 4 different categories. The first category would be keep, the second is sell, the third is donate, and the fourth is dispose. So we'll talk through each of these categories so you can get a sense of considerations when you downsize. So the first group is keep. And ideally, you would look at the new place that you're moving into and do some type of space planning where you know how large the rooms are that you're moving into, and then you also have the measurements of your current furniture. And from there, you can figure out what furniture will actually fit into your new home. Now, if you don't know where you're moving yet, there's still some other things that you can ask yourself in deciding what to keep. One criteria is always, do you love it? And if you've heard recently, Marie Kondo, she created a new saying is, does it spark joy? And I might even say, does it really spark joy? So, what is that, your emotion with these items? Another question to ask yourself is, how functional is this furniture and these items? And then the last is, do you have like a strong emotional, sentimental attachment? And you don't want to keep things that you just have an emotional attachment, but only the ones that you really have that strong emotional attachment. So considering, size and considering some of these other things such as functionality and strength of emotional attachment can help you decide what to keep. So that's kind of category number 1. The second category is sell. And I will say the furniture resale market has been impacted by COVID. Many places are closing and there's fewer options than there were in the past, but there's still a few things that you can do. If you're comfortable reselling furniture on your own, there are some software applications that are cloud-based, such as Nextdoor and Craigslist and even Facebook Marketplace, where you can try to resell your furniture. If you have large, high quality, high value items, then you can actually send them to an auction and consider something like Quinn's Auction in Falls Church or Alexandria Auction. And then there are still a few consignment places open, such as Evolution Home and Alexandria, Virginia. So that's kind of your second group, sell. And I would say for sell, to try to keep that as small as possible because it has been impacted by COVID. So you have your keep, your sell, and then your next group is donate. Donate has also been impacted by COVID. There's very few nonprofit organizations that are going into the homes right now. But one of them that is still doing this type of work and taking, large furniture donations out of your home is Salvation Army. So they are up in operation. However, you do need to contact them at least 2 months ahead of time. So a lot of people are calling on their services. Now, there are still some organizations that you can take your items to, such as Goodwill or Wider Circle. You just need to plan in advance because they do have limited hours since COVID. Instead of like open 9 hours Monday through Friday, they're only open like a 3-hour window each day. And you can also expect to be long lines. We've waited up to an hour to donate things at a Goodwill. So that is kind of the third group of your items. So we talked about what to keep, what to sell, what to donate, and then the last group is dispose. And typically these are items that you're almost ready to throw away, or large furniture items no longer leave, you can't donate. So we look at using junk haulers. So junk haulers have been less impacted by COVID because they're considered an essential service. So most of them are still up and operational. The two that we use the most are 123 Junk and Junk Luggers. And both of them have a model which is appealing. They will pick up the items from your home, and instead of taking them right to the dump, they will actually try to donate them. 123 Junk even has like a small warehouse near the dump where they will put donations, and then they invite their charity partners to come and look at them, look at the furniture, look at the materials first before actually, disposing of it. So those are kind of the 3 steps when you're looking at downsizing. If you want to think about how to manage your possessions, and particularly the furniture, consider what you want to keep, what you want to sell, what you want to donate, and then what you need to dispose of. And a way to track all of this is actually in a furniture inventory that's in a spreadsheet. And you can also use kind of coordinating sticky notes for some of these items. So that's downsizing. Now with the move, there's a couple of considerations. Certainly one is the logistics and the scheduling. So you'll need to schedule the items that we just discussed. And then there are some others that you may want to consider. One is to have a shred company actually come to your home and shred those documents that you no longer need to keep. Another is kind of a move out clean service, a deep cleaning. Even if you're the cleanest person around, if you've had furniture there for more than 5 years and you pull the furniture away, there's always dust that needs to be taken care of. So look at doing a move clean out. And then the last one is often family members you may decide to, give some of your items to family members. And in those cases, you may need to coordinate some shipping of those items to extended family members, or you need to arrange to have those extended family members come and pick up these items. And then the last tip to consider when you're downsizing is that in most cases, you're not going from a 4-bedroom home to a 4-bedroom home. You're going from something larger to something smaller. And in those cases, when you're moving, you want to think about labeling the boxes and the furniture with the room in your new home. So not where it came from in your old home, but you want to make sure they get labeled of where they're going in your new home. So those are some things to consider. Because organizing and design can certainly help through this process, whether it's the downsizing or the move. Hopefully if you have any questions, we can field those in the end, and I'll turn it back to Dawn.
Thanks, Heather, for all of those tips. A big part of this process, I think that is daunting for many of my clients, is they have so many things. Like, people have lived in their homes for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they've collected so many personal items. So I think by far that is the biggest apprehension when I meet with clients as to how are they going to get from their house with all of their stuff to their new home that's going to be considerably smaller, and that the process is going to be overwhelming and it's going to take years. And if it's one thing that I've been able to do along with your help and other people in the process that you talked about, is we really can do it a lot faster than people think. I mean, I've had some clients I meet with 2 years before they want to sell, and they're going to go through every single thing, one box at a time, and it's going to take them all this time. And it gets, I think, really exhausting for people. But I've been able to come in, bring in people like you and those people you mentioned. And I recently helped somebody that they had literally been working 9 months on this process. I came in, we were done in 10 days. And so then in 10 days, and then I was able to put it on the market and have it under contract, within 2 weeks. And it was like a huge weight was lifted off their shoulders that they just felt so overwhelmed. And all of a sudden, this task they had been at for 9 months, it was gone. They had their home sold, they got the money, and they were able to move on with their lives. And she told me that she was so grateful because she was a teacher. And we did this like we literally had the closing like the day before she was going back to school. And she said she didn't know how she was going to be able to get back to work with all of these things still on her plate. And so it was an enormous relief. And another experience I had with a client, talking about what you were talking about, was I had a client who was selling his longtime home. It was decent size, or probably 4,000 square feet, and moving to a 2-bedroom condo. And really reluctant to let go of those possessions and the things that felt like home. And so by having somebody like you come in and sort of work through those issues, doing floor plans, identifying what are the most important pieces of furniture, what sparked the most joy, was able to bring all of those pieces into his new home, the favorite artwork. And I remember the dining room table. The new condo did have a dining room, but it was a lot smaller than the old dining room. And it was a glass tabletop, and it didn't fit. It was too big. And so the solution was they kept the base and they cut the tabletop down. It fit, and the chairs fit. And so when I went to see him all settled in his new home after it had been unpacked and everything, it felt like the old home. Yeah. I mean, it was probably a quarter of the size, but it felt the same because all of these common things were still there, all these things they loved. So having somebody like you being able to do all of those things, it's really been great for my clients to feel like they're not necessarily giving up everything in their own life. They're still able to move on, do their new things, and have that comfort of home. So thank you so much, Heather, for your discussion and your advice. Next, we're going to have Rebecca Rouet talk. She is a personal assistant who gets paid by the hour to do all of the things that are left in this process that somebody may not want to do or may not have time to do, but that still needs to get done. Rebecca has been invaluable to many of my clients by helping them with their transition. Rebecca will speak more about how she can help. Rebecca?
Thanks, Dawn, and thanks for having me on this great panel today. I think Dawn just was talking about the overwhelm factor and how many people feel just like you see this to-do list that your realtor gives you or your financial advisor gives you or your attorney gives you, that you have to check off all these things, and then all of a sudden it's time to do it and you don't know where to begin. So we say when you're moving, don't look at the room, don't look at the house, look at each room, and then look at each drawer and go little by little. And it's the same thing with the to-do list. But most people in this situation that are right-sizing haven't moved in 50 years, 40 years, sometimes even more. I've had people that were in their house for 57 years. They don't know how to move anymore. They haven't done it in half a century. And so those of us on this panel, we do it all the time. We're the ones that you should listen to because we do it, monthly, weekly, some of us even more. So basically where I come in is I look at the list that Dawn gives the homeowner, and there might need to be contractors that need to be called to paint, to repair. Sometimes we're doing a massive remodel before or after you move. And because of the nature of my business, I have a lot of these contractors that I deal with on a daily basis. So I can call and get them in there. I try to be as efficient as possible, get as many estimates as I can in a short amount of time, because as she said, I am getting paid by the hour. And then we go from there and I go, okay, this one looks like the best one, or, obviously the homeowner will look at them as well, but we can decide and then move forward, and I can help oversee the process as well. some things that Heather might have on the list like that need to get done, I can help with as well. You know, I can take those things to donation or help you call and organize the people to come pick it up, or give those family relatives a deadline of when they need to come get their stuff by if in fact a family member is taking something, so that it's not sitting there on the day that you're moving and it needs to be emptied. One of the things I do regularly with my clients is come up with a document, a spreadsheet of bills, and it's like how do you pay them, when do you pay them, and then another spreadsheet of when they've been transferred over or canceled. So you don't realize all the different bills you pay. Some are on automatic payments, so some are withdrawn automatically from your bank account, some you have to go write a check for, or the bank writes a check for it, or some are put on your credit card and you pay the credit card bill monthly. And you don't realize it because it's just stuff that you do all the time. You're not looking at it on a daily basis. So where I come in is I make that spreadsheet and make those calls for you so that you're not having to go over. It's tedious. It's not extremely difficult, but it is tedious and it takes a lot of time. And when you've got that long to-do list of things that, you know, you have to get done by your move date, and of course, we can start that process as soon as possible, but just making the list, at least we can't cancel things until we know when you're leaving the existing house. But basically, that's the gist of it is you're buying your own time. You're dealing with experts that do this kind of thing on a daily basis instead of on a half a century basis. And so we know what the best way to sell your home is. Like when Dawn says, you know, some of my clients are like, why do I have to paint if I'm leaving? Because you're going to get more. If your house looks better, you're going to get more interest. You're going to get, and they're afraid to deal with the contractors and not know if they're getting a good price or whatever. So someone that looks at a lot of estimates every week is going to have a better idea of what it should be costing and can be costing and how to get the most bang for your buck, essentially. And if Dawn's telling you to do it or your realtor is telling you to do it, it likely needs to get done so that you do get the most for your money. And investing a little bit in the repair and remodel is going to get more on the back end, on the sale end of your deal. And so it's definitely valuable. And she wouldn't be telling you to do it if it wasn't recommended and necessary. But that's a really hard pill to swallow for some people, and they don't know where to begin because they're not dealing with those people all the time. So I come in and help with that and hopefully make that transition a lot easier so that they're not having to deal with the people. And especially right now in COVID, especially my senior clients, I'm trying to have them interact with as few people as possible so that their risk is as low as possible. And we're all masked up and we're doing everything we can and washing our hands and sanitizing and everything. But if I can be that interface so that they don't have to, it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about their health and safety as well. So I think that's all I had.
Thanks, Rebecca. You brought up so many good points. And so, yes, as part of the downsizing process and figuring out the sale of the house, I'll do a complete analysis to determine if what needs to get done to get it sold so that you can really get the most money that you can out of the process. And it really just depends on the specific house and what the situation is at the time. But I have done all sorts of things, from some sort of minor cleaning up and repairs to major renovations. And it has really made a difference. It helps the home sell quicker and helps you get more for the money because you're getting more people interested in the property. And during COVID, in fact, Rebecca and I worked on one home very much this way. We had an older client who was moving away, and there was a lot of work that needed to get done at the house. And I was worried about her and having people come in and out. And so we talked through it and we came up with a solution where once stuff had been gone through and winnowed and we did all that first step, that she was able to move out for about a month. And then we were able to get contractors in and redo the kitchen, redo the bathrooms, painting, the whole 9 yards. So she didn't have to be there. She was safe. And Rebecca was an enormous help through that process. And we were able to get that home sold quickly and for a lot more money. So that really worked out. when my clients are comfortable with the process involved with moving and all the excellent professional advice they have received, that's when I'm ready to get involved and help sell their long-time home and reach their goals. So I wanted to just talk briefly about some of my clients and what their mindset was, like why were they doing this? Why is it time to sell and move on? And, you just get to the point where, a lot of my clients are retiring or retired or about to retire. And they sort of look at themselves and think, well, what do I want to be doing for the rest of my life? And what seems like fun. And most of them have things in their mind that they hadn't had a chance to do while they were working their job every day for the past 30, 40 years. So I helped one set of clients. They sold their longtime home in Northern Virginia and purchased a one-level condo in a very vibrant neighborhood where they were able to walk to restaurants and shops and entertainment. And they live there 9 months out of the year. And then the other 3 months, they live in Colorado. They go skiing over the winter. So skiing is their passion. And so they have been so happy since they were able to make that transition. I had another client who was retiring from her government job, and what she really wanted to do was train dogs. And so she was able to sell her house here and make enough money that she was able to buy a farm in Delaware and that she set up as a dog training center. And she's super happy doing that. I had clients who really wanted to save a lot of their money. They wanted to buy, this is a case actually where they didn't downsize per se. They right-sized, but in a different area. So they were able to sell their house in Northern Virginia and buy a home in Idaho that was gorgeous and new and actually larger than their old home, but they were able to pay cash and it saved them a lot of money, and they wanted to be there because Idaho had so many outdoor things they could do, and they love doing outdoor things. I have clients who just wanted to sell and move closer to their families, their loved ones, their kids, their grandkids, particularly during COVID. I saw that a lot. And so they were able to sell and sort of move closer to them. And then I have my clients who are ready for the sunshine and the easier way of life in Florida, and they're ready to sell here and move closer to the beach. And so luckily for me, I am part of the Sotheby's network. So I have great professional realtors all over the country and all over the world that I can refer people to. So when my clients are ready to leave here and relocate somewhere else, I can connect them with somebody who can help them buy their new home. And all of my clients have been so happy with the transition and what they're doing now, and that they were able to realize their goals. And I sort of think back to those initial consultations where they were all very hesitant and they weren't sure if it was going to work out, and they couldn't imagine getting rid of all the boxes and all the things in the attic and all the things in the basement. And now they just feel lighter and happier, and they're doing things that they really like to do, and they're spending time with the people they love. So it is definitely possible to make the transition in a way where by getting all the right help, it ends up being much easier than if you try and do it by yourself. So I want to ask Fraser, does anybody have any questions, or can you tell if anybody has any questions?
Yes, Dawn, thanks for asking. First, we have a question that says, this is to Ed, thanks for your comments on POAs. Is it safe to assume that you recommend a limited scope time power of attorney rather than a general durable power of attorney for real estate transactions?
Unmute yourself, Ed.
Hold on, that might be me because I think I muted Ed. Where is he?
Yeah, I'm here. If you're going to do a real estate power of attorney, I would do a limited power of attorney. I do them for a limited purpose and maybe for a limited time. In a general power of attorney, don't do that. I would not put any kind of limitations like that, because in a general power of attorney where you're trying to go to a bank and other third parties, if they see a limitation, it's going to make it much harder for the third party to accept. So for special powers of attorneys, you might have some limitations of limited time and purpose.
Next question. Thank you, Ed. Next question is, can anyone on the panel speak to the health insurance implications of moving from one state to another? For example, Virginia to Pennsylvania. I've heard of cases where by moving out of state, you also risk ending up in a different insurance pool with substantially higher rates or disqualifying your Medicare benefits.
Ed, do you have anything?
Yeah, so look, that really would only apply to the Medicare Advantage program, okay? So when Medicare Advantage is, well, you've seen the Joe Namath plan, right? So when you join a Medicare Advantage, it's linked to the area in which you live and of course the network of doctors that you have that the plan has. So if you move to another area, if you move out of, say, Virginia to Florida, you're going to have to pick up a different plan. You're going to have to pick up either Advantage plan in Florida, or you may have to go back into regular Medicare. The issues there become, particularly if you go back into regular Medicare and want to get a supplemental policy, that's not a Medicare Advantage, you may have to pay a heftier premium to get the supplemental policy, because after age 65, they can begin to charge more and actually look at your healthcare needs. So, my advice is if you're going to do a Medicare Advantage plan, you need to really realize that you're going to be sticking into this area and not making big changes such as that. It's not impossible, but it represents a problem.
Okay, thanks, Ed. And if anyone has a question, they can either submit it online, or I believe you can also raise your hand and I can allow you to speak. Dawn, while we're waiting on that, do you have any further questions for your experts?
There's nothing that jumps out at me. Does anybody have anything else that they wanted to ask or thought about after everybody else spoke? No, I think we're good. Fraser, if there aren't any more questions.
I have one more for you, Dawn.
Okay.
And this is for you. Do you foresee a shift from the current seller's market in the near future?
I really don't. So currently interest rates are really low. And I think that's going to continue for a while. So right now in this local area, buyers have been out there. There definitely is a low inventory of homes, and everything I've seen for buyers, it's been mostly multiple offers. So buyers are going in there, they're competing for homes. So it's still a seller's market. They're doing very well. It is a great time to sell. So for people who are thinking of downsizing, now is a great time. I did have people, earlier in the year when the pandemic started, people really weren't sure what was going to happen and they weren't sure if it was the right time to sell. And so for about 2 months, people took a step back, but towards the end of May, a lot of people, I think, just decided that they were going to go ahead and sell, that they couldn't put their lives on hold indefinitely, waiting to see if this ever went away. And all of a sudden, we saw more things come on the market and more sales. So this year actually has outpaced sales already by November over all of last year. So, people wonder, is it a good market? It's a great market. So the sellers who decided that they were going to go ahead, and the ones that sold in June, July, August, September, October, they did really well. And like I said, almost every deal that I've been involved with has been a multiple offer deal. And homes were going for selling over the list price. There have been some pockets in the area where homes are selling, $200,000 over list price. And these are homes that were originally on the market at $650, $675, and they ended up settling at $850, $875. So if you're thinking, is it a good time to sell? I think the interest rates are going to stay low for a while. But we always say we don't have a crystal ball, so who knows exactly what's going to happen next year. But so far, now's a great time.
Okay, that's all. Oh, wait, I have one more if we can handle it. How is the rental market, Dawn?
So the rental market, a couple things also that have happened during the pandemic as I began to receive more inquiries from landlords wanting to sell their properties. So that was for a couple of reasons. People Some of them are just getting older, and they were just tired of the dealing with the tenants and the maintenance and all of that. And they saw that people are getting a lot of money for their properties. And so they decided now's the right time to sell, that they wanted to cash out. So that happened quite a bit. And then another thing people have been contacting me about is feeling like the rental market's a little soft, that they're not commanding the rents that they did a year ago, and that they're having a little more trouble renting their properties than they used to. So I don't know if that's going to continue. I don't know if that's entirely, it could be partially a function of all the buyers, because I had all these people who had been renting, and with the interest rates low, and when COVID happened, I think it kicked off something like a nesting instinct in people. Like, people felt like they wanted their own place because they're spending all of their time there. So they weren't excited to be in a rental property anymore, because you're limited in what you can do and how you can fix it up. And people just wanted their own place to make home. They wanted more space. They wanted places with outdoor space that they could use, and also home offices. So I've seen a big shift just personally with renters moving to buyers. So maybe that's going to just lead to more long-term, more rentals available, and maybe depress that price point in the market a bit. And I just was talking with a client this morning who has a rental. She's the landlord, and she just said her tenants are interested in leaving because they want to go buy. And she's concerned because other properties in the area are, other rental places are offering so many free rents, right? They're like free 2 months rent, free 3 months rent. And so she's trying to decide right now if she wants to deal with renters more or sell. So I hope that answered the question.
Great. That's what I have, Dawn. I'll, if you want to close us out and thank the panelists.
Yes, I would love to. I want to thank all of my guest speakers for coming today and participating. I really appreciate it, all your wonderful advice, and I really appreciate your donations to Rebuilding Together. It's such a worthy cause. And I wanted to thank everybody, all the attendees, for joining us today, and I hope this was very beneficial and informative for you. If you have any questions in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. All of our contact information is going to be on Fraser's website. He can just tell you about that at the very end. And if any of the attendees want to find out more information about how to volunteer for Rebuilding Together or make donations, then please just reach out to Patty Klein or look up the website to find out how you can do that. So thank you so much. Fraser, anything about the website you want to share with people?
Yeah, just one thing. The website that everybody visited to come here has the contact information for everybody on the site, as well as Rebuilding Together, and a little video introduction of Rebuilding Together, along with a donate link if you're interested. But if you can contact the speakers directly, or you can click the request info button, and that will send your information to them, and they can follow up with you as well. Thanks so much.
That sounds great. Thank you all for helping me all these years give such great service to my clients. Have a great day.